Amazing.
And welcome to episode 192 of the most must-see, soon-to-be most viewed show on the Bedford TV airwaves, or any airwaves for that matter. North, south, east, west, backwards, frontwards, diagonally, sideways, any which way you look at it, all around the world, the Wrestling Connection. I am your host, your connection to the wrestling world, the fedorable felon, the perfect Ken, your pontiff of the pro wrestling populace, Mr. Ken Hill, at your service today, delivering all the news to you in professional wrestling. Alongside me in the studio today, the lovely and current reigning and defending WK Queen of Pay-Per-View, Miss Julie Manugian. The one-stop magic shop, Mr. 8-Ball himself, Mr. Nick Giglio.
Hi, Ken.
And just off-screen,
Hi,
he just
Ken.
stepped out.
I said hello, Ken. You going to say hi back?
Hello, Mr.
Okay,
Nick.
good. Greg is somewhere else.
And Greg is slightly off-screen. Now, we haven't stepped into a one-day early time warp. We are coming to you live on Thursday afternoon, as Nick, Julie, and Greg will be venturing off to accept the awards for best studio within their budget range, and Julie accepting a individual award for her. Julie, why don't you inform the lovely audience what you are up for?
Certainly. We're very excited that Bedford TV won once again. Excellence, best overall station in our budget category.
Nice.
This time, the award was for New England area.
Northeast, which is New England,
Northeast.
New England and New York, I believe.
Right. But we also won this award nationally. Tomorrow will be just for the Northeast. And in addition to that, I won a first place award for a little video I did about the Bedford schools and how they need to expand and the millions and millions of dollars that our school district is getting. So we're going to be celebrating twice tomorrow.
And I did see a couple of clips of that. That was a very well done piece by you, Julie. And you certainly did.
And you remember last year you won.
Of course.
Best talk show host.
Best professional talk show in New England.
That's right.
I love it. But I'm sad to say I didn't repeat this year. But I'm very happy for Bedford TV. I'm very happy for Julie. Kudos to you. But I mean, with Bedford TV Awards coming up in a couple of weeks.
That's
I've
right.
got a pretty good feeling the Wrestling Connection will be.
And now would be a good time for me to
categories.
throw in a little mention that our Bedford TV Awards are happening on Friday, November 17th at 6 o'clock on the third floor of Old Town Hall. We're going to start with our annual meeting, and then the fun begins. It's going to be Oscar style.
Ooh.
So wear your best.
I will.
Just like last year.
Yep. And we're going to have some exciting categories. We're going to be having food, and all the local celebrities who have shows on Bedford TV are going to be there. Last year, George Clooney even joined us.
Yes, he did. We're going to get, I think we're getting Sheldon this year.
Sheldon?
We're getting
From Big
Sheldon
Bang Theory.
Cooper?
Oh.
Yeah, I believe so. There's Greg.
And there you go.
I have a correction. Paula, why don't you come in and be on camera for a quick second? Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
No, she has work to do, I guess.
Okay, correction to the audience out there. I gave the wrong time. The date is still the same, Friday, November 17th, but it
Right.
starts at 6:30.
6:30.
The annual meeting, and then the award show 7 to 8. But moving on to the Wrestling Connection.
Moving on, thank you. All right, so I did want to wish everyone a happy Halloween. I'm sorry that we couldn't be all decked out like we have been in years past, but kind of gonna take a serious tone this week. Okay, there you go. Let's give him a little color. Let's give him a little color. I mean, we do have a couple of colorful topics to approach this week. One concerning, and as much as I don't like to, the old saying is never speak ill of the dead, but I feel like this subject has been really cropping up recently, and I do want to touch on it, and I would appreciate some insight from everyone else here, because this isn't so much a wrestling topic as is just a controversial topic of controversial nature in general. Now, the topic I'm talking about here is the recent Unleash Your Warrior campaign in conjunction with the Susan G. Komen Foundation. Now, what I'm talking about is basically it's this whole thing about unleashing your spirit, about fighting against cancer, fighting against the sickness, unleashing your warrior, expressing yourself, which is all well and good. And this is done in honor of WWE Hall of Famer, the Ultimate Warrior. Now, that's all well and good, but the problem with this is, and this goes deep. This goes deep. The Ultimate Warrior has been known, he's notorious for making very controversial statements in the last decade and a half. If you don't know this, he was always a very outlandish individual in the ring. Outside of it, even more so, to the point where many would consider that he was unhinged. This is also the man who legally changed his name to Warrior. He went from being just Jim Hellwig playing the Ultimate Warrior to Warrior being Warrior. So just keep that in mind. Now, like I said, these are controversial topics. I won't go directly quoting Ultimate Warrior because, like a lot of you said, is very racy, is very scandalous. So I won't go directly quoting it. But safe to say, Warrior's made statements about just about everything, from queer studies to the victims of Hurricane Katrina, to denigrating Martin Luther King Day. I mean, there wasn't really a social subject, a socio-political subject that Ultimate Warrior wouldn't touch on in his own special way. And the problem is, it feels like that WWE is trying to whitewash a lot of the controversial things that Warrior has said and done in the last decade and a half, and try to make him into some bland, philanthropical, figure, like logo. So basically, just a way to push a marketing tool, more or less. That he's being used as a philanthropical. I can't say the word. As a marketing tool, more or less, as a bland marketing tool, and it just strikes me as seriously hypocritical. Because at the same time, you had someone like Warrior who made all these controversial statements, and at the same time, a few years ago, you had Hulk Hogan being outed for making similar, actually less controversial racist statements, and getting entirely dismissed from WWE, from their memory banks, more or less, being entirely dismissed from WWE because of it. Having his name stricken from the Hall of Fame. Basically everything about Hulk Hogan was removed when he made these statements. At the same time now you're promoting someone like the Ultimate Warrior, who made even worse statements than Hulk Hogan did a couple years ago. And you have WWE trying to appear forward-thinking and diversive. Okay, so if they're trying to appear so diversive, then why is it? And that I want to bring up these photos right here of these superstars that were recently released. you ended up releasing Emma. Nick, do we have
Hold on, I'm trying to find Emma.
Hold on just a second, folks. All right, so we ended up really. So why is it? So I continue my thought right there. Why is it that WWE recently released Emma, Summer Rae? Next photo.
Sorry, these aren't really labeled, so.
Summer Rae. Well, I mean, I kind of sequentially I labeled them, and then they're trying to appear diversive, and they're trying. So yeah, so when you are trying to whitewash over the controversial quotes and statements, including homophobic statements made by Ultimate Warrior, what's the best marketing move? What's the best next move? Releasing your one and only black homosexual superstar in Darren Young. That's the statement WWE wants to make by releasing Darren Young, who came out and talked about his homosexual. That's the next one. That's the next photo. Yeah, Darren Young right there, and he was released, and so that was WWE's idea to release Darren Young. Okay, and I'm willing to bet that the first thing out of WWE's mouth, the explanation for releasing him, is that we didn't have anything for him creatively. That's the oldest excuse WWE has for any superstar they let go without truly explaining why they let him go, or her, in this case, because you saw that Emma had recently come out of a feud on the losing end of a feud with Asuka, actually looking quite competitive in losing that feud. So we don't understand why she was released. Summer Rae hadn't been on television pretty much all year, so maybe it was understandable why. Same with Darren Young, who supposedly had already recovered from his shoulder injury and was gearing up to make a return. So WWE is going to try and whitewash over this, why they let Darren Young go, just like they're trying to whitewash over the statements and other controversies made by Ultimate Warrior. And yes, Ultimate Warrior's widow, Dana Warrior, has gone on record defending her husband, saying that he has changed. Oh, okay, that he's evolved. All right, so why were none of these changes publicly made? Why were none of these changes publicly acknowledged? How is he changed? How are we supposed to know that Warrior changed from the person he was 10, 12 years ago? I mean, how are we supposed to know that, Dana? How are we supposed to know that this man, that your husband changed from that long ago? I'm sorry. As much as look, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I certainly want to give a WWE legend, a Hall of Famer, benefit of the doubt that he did change in his final years when he was acknowledged by WWE, when those fences were mended, when he was welcomed back into the WWE fold. I want to believe that he changed for the better, but there was no acknowledgement made that he ever truly, changed his spots, as it were. There was no indication. No apology made. No apology made for any of the controversial statements that he had made over the years. Nothing. No acknowledgement whatsoever that he had truly changed. So now I take this over to Julie and Nick, because this isn't a wrestling topic per se. This is more like I said, this is more a social subject.
Well, I want to thank you for bringing this to our attention and to the WK audience's attention, because I didn't know about this. This is the first time hearing of it, and it's pretty shameful.
It is, because I don't understand why WWE is doing this. Okay, like I said, WWE had no problem dismissing Hogan. I wouldn't want to say for making lesser statements, because no racial statement is ever lesser than another. They're all controversial. They're all scandalous, to say. But the fact that he got dismissed for making, I guess, maybe lighter statements than Warrior did, dismissed entirely, and yet you're taking someone like Warrior and promoting him, making him the focal point of your anti-cancer campaign is ludicrous. Look, here's the thing. I'm all for that. I'm all for supporting anti-cancer. But when you have someone like Ultimate Warrior, and like, okay, you go the whole 9 yards, the whole unleash your warrior, and okay, that's all well and good. That's a nice little marketing tool you got there. But when you fail to acknowledge what he has said and done in the last decade and a half without cleaning any of it up, just letting it sit out there for someone like me or anyone else online to just come along and pick up, all right, okay, that's on WWE. That's not on me. That's not on anyone else who's willing to acknowledge the fact that Warrior was not a wholesome individual in his post-wrestling years. He was not. He was outlandish. He was outspoken, very, very much so. More so than I imagine any wrestler out there, any former wrestler, any Hall of Famer. He was very outspoken, but unfortunately, when you're that outspoken, your statements are going to stand the test of time for a long time. And unfortunately now, even 12, 13 years later, here they are, plain as day. His remarks, his racist statements, his homophobic statements, his remarks about Martin Luther King Day and Hurricane Katrina victims, it's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. There's no two ways about it. So I think it's frankly pathetic that WWE is trying to whitewash over this. I can understand, and no, here's the kicker. Here's the one thing I haven't touched on. And I kicked myself for not acknowledging him, this gentleman earlier when he passed away a few weeks ago. The recent passing of Bobby the Brain Heenan, another WWE Hall of Famer. This is Warrior right here. I should have gotten a picture of Bobby the Brain, but Bobby the Brain passing away after a long battle with throat cancer. And I mean, so my condolences go out to him and his family and everyone there. And Warrior made no bones about his hatred for Heenan. Called him a scumbag, called him two-faced. He called him a number of things over the years. And when Heenan passed away, you would think that would kind of lighten up Warrior. No, he went on record saying that Heenan basically got what he deserved. He got karma. And the thing is, I would never wish the kind of suffering that Heenan went through on my worst enemy, if I had one. I would never wish something like that, any kind of suffering on anyone. And you have Warrior basically stating that Heenan reaped what he sowed, that he got what he deserved. And that's a disgusting statement to make, and that's not something that you can just easily take back. And the thing is, Heenan's passing coincided with the whole Unleash Your Warrior campaign, anti-cancer campaign, and the fact that that they're trying to. That's way too much of a coincidence. And now, and if WWE's attempts to try and we're trying to disseminate, we're trying to differentiate, Jim Hellwig from Ultimate Warrior. Well, the fact that Jim Hellwig had himself renamed the Warrior, Ultimate Warrior, okay, your attempts to kind of differentiate the two, to kind of split the difference between the two, rings a little hollow. That's the bottom line. Okay, that's the bottom line right there. So I'm sorry to bring in downer coming in from Halloween season, but this had to be said. WWE is pathetic for trying to attempt this. They're trying to whitewash over everything that Warrior has said and done. Oh yeah, I suppose we should let bygones be bygones. No, okay, it has to be said. All right, I can't ignore this. And if people are going to come down on me for suppose I'm not against anti-cancer campaigns. That's not the point here. I'm not against that. I'm all for that. I'm all for supporting anti-cancer campaigns. I'm all support fighting against any disease. Okay, I'm all for that. The point is, I'm against WWE's shoddy marketing attempts, especially when your focal point is someone who's made statements against those who have suffered from cancer, like Bobby the Brain Heenan, who have made statements from those who have suffered, like Hurricane Katrina victims, and those who lead a different lifestyle or of a different culture or race. Okay, those are the kind of statements that Warrior has made, and unfortunately they have stood the test of time to this day, because that's all he was ever about in his post-wrestling years. So if WWE is honestly going to try and whitewash over all that, I suggest you bring a pretty big can, because you got a lot of whitewashing to do. A lot of painting over.
How's the time, Nick? On the card.
All right. So just need a second to kind of switch gears here. But I want to get some more of your thoughts on this, guys. I mean, you already heard my 2 cents, but I want to hear everyone's thoughts on this. Nick, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I mean, this whole ordeal with Warrior.
Can you hear me out there?
I can hear you loud and
I have
clear.
a question. Why is this guy even getting airtime because of this?
I'm
You
sorry?
know what I mean? Why is this guy getting airtime? Like, why is he getting screen time if he believes in this?
Well, I mean, that's my question. Is that
Technically, anyone can get... Here, let me put you up there. Technically, anyone can have airtime, but why is WWE giving this person airtime when they're trying to create a brand that is...
Well, it's not even
accepting
so
of
much
all.
that he's getting airtime. It's that the campaign is acknowledging him, is acknowledging his character. I mean, they've basically taken the Ultimate Warrior,
Can they
and
just write him off?
And again, like I said, they've tried to turn him into basically a bland, no-faced marketing tool.
Oh.
That's what they've tried to do. They've tried to kind of like lessen what he's
And that
been
didn't
all
work out
about
too
in
well?
the last decade, and try to like turn him into a more positive, force. That's what they've tried to do, and I'm willing to believe that he's changed. He changed over the last few years.
Really?
I want to believe that. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. I want to give him and Dana and the entire Warrior family the benefit of the doubt that he truly changed in the last few years. But like I've said before, there was never any indication made. There was never any public acknowledgement. There wasn't Warrior coming out and saying he apologized for all those controversial statements that he made in the last decade and a half. He never made any sort of public apology, any sort of or even an acknowledgement.
Ooh.
I would love for someone to come out and correct me about that. If anyone out there, I mean, if he did come out and make some sort of some legitimate apology, I would like to know about that, because I've looked, I've researched, and I found nothing of the sort. And I think it's frankly, like I said, it's insulting. It's degrading that WWE is using the name of someone who made these sort of proclamations, these sort of statements over the years, and they are just trying to whitewash over that and hope people will ignore that and move on.
Okay.
Well, I mean, like I said, I said my piece. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on this.
Well, that was mine. Is why is this person getting all this publicity for something that's so bad?
Exactly. I mean,
It just don't make no sense to me.
I feel bad for the wrestler that you talked about, the African American wrestler who's openly gay and
This one
is being part of
right,
this.
right. Darren Young getting let go, and I mean,
He's
okay,
caught in the middle of this. Yeah.
I mean, WWE's trying to proclaim
feel bad
themselves as being like progressive and diversive, and yet when you have someone like Warrior making homophobic statements, what's WWE's answer to that? The response, letting go their one openly gay superstar.
What was the
go.
time period of that from when the statements were made to when
Oh,
he
yeah.
was let go?
Well, no. I mean, Warrior's statements, like I said, were made over a decade ago. But the fact is, they're still online. People can still look up what Warrior has said and done. I mean, he's basically, he's made derogatory statements against homosexuals, against blacks, like I said, the Hurricane Katrina victims. He's said so much that pretty much any and every quote that he's talked about.
Right.
you
And
sort of
has he come back? So, okay, got
Right.
it.
So basically, yeah, you could just, even though these are years old.
Does he still believe in what he said? Is he still following in those footsteps?
I'm sorry?
You know what I mean? Does he still believe like what he said?
Well, no. I mean, Warrior's passed away himself. Like
Yeah,
when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame a few years ago, the night after, he came out on Raw, gave a very impassioned speech about how the spirit of the Ultimate Warrior will run forever. And then literally the next day, he passed away.
And when was that? A couple
This
years
was
ago?
a few years ago.
And so has his spirit been resurrected, or has he been mentioned recently?
Well, no. Like I said, his spirit has basically been turned into an award, like to honor those who like are fighting or persevering against disease, persevering.
That's horrible.
Against affliction.
Okay.
I mean,
and that award is focusing on the illness at the end of his life and not the racist comments he made earlier in his career.
well, the problem is the racist statements are what's kind of like clouding this over, and what WWE's trying to avoid, trying to basically just paint over and like hope people will ignore it and it'll go away. It's not going to go away though.
And when they released this wrestler, what was the reason?
Well, Darren Young, I mean, basically, it's like I said this before. Basically, when he's going to be asked, it's likely going to be that simply that creative didn't have anything for
Right.
you. That's the go-to excuse. Is that all right? Like, we didn't have anything for Darren Young. We didn't have anything for Summer Rae. We didn't have anything for Emma, even though we just had Emma in a feud with the debuting Asuka. Oh yeah, we didn't have anything for you, creatively speaking. So there you go. That's likely going to be the first thing that comes out of anyone's mouths with WWE, is that simply, we're sad, they're gone, but oh well.
Oh well. All right, you want to move on to the next part of your program?
Yeah, let's move on to the next one. And as much as I love to be, optimistic about these sort of things,
Oh boy.
I mean, Survivor Series is one of my. Changing gears. Survivor Series is one of my favorite pay-per-views.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite video I've done for you is the Survivor Series one.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
That's coming back. We're gonna change it up a little bit.
Great. Oh, I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I found another song with Survivor. It's 7 minutes long, so it's gonna be a 12-minute long preview. No, I'm kidding. There's no such.
Please, Nick, come on.
We'll keep it as is.
I'd rather you shorten it, like to no minutes.
I'm sorry, that's not in my vocabulary.
Oh, it's in mine.
It's like apples and oranges.
Huh. Yeah, apples to apples.
All right, let's start it off.
Anyway, okay. So, like I said, Survivor Series is one of my favorite pay-per-views. I mean, normally I'm excited about it, but there's a lot I've seen over the last couple of weeks that doesn't make me too excited for this year's Survivor Series. One being top thing is the return of Stephanie McMahon, and I'm just going to say it right now. It's basically like we stepped through a 6-7 month time warp, and this is like literally nothing has changed here about Stephanie, about her character, about anything. First off, she basically railed on Kurt Angle, just like she railed on the previous GM, Mick Foley, emasculated him, just like she emasculated Mick Foley, and has just done so to about every male on the roster. Threatened his job and livelihood, threatened Mick Foley's job and livelihood. So basically, literally nothing has changed about Stephanie McMahon. And of course, she doesn't get any comeuppance, verbal or otherwise, for basically outing Kurt Angle in front of everyone. Now, on the upside, she did make Kurt Angle the captain of the Raw Survivor Series team, but under the threat that if Kurt's team does not win, Kurt could find himself out of a job. Oh, jumpin' joy, Stephanie McMahon is back. Yeah, that's my first beef about.
You must love this woman.
Oh yeah, I'm just up in arms about this. I'm overjoyed. I know I'm overjoyed.
You just want to give her a big hug and a kiss on the cheek, right, Ken?
Yeah, if Triple H wasn't standing right behind her with a sledgehammer. No, but no. Stephanie brings nothing to WWE television. She brought nothing to WWE television before, and she's bringing even less now. And a good indicator was that this week's Raw ratings dropped from last week. So that should tell you right there that Stephanie, she brings them in droves. Yeah, she brings them in droves right out the door. That's what she does for WWE television. All right, so moving on to the next point. Speaking of people who overstay their welcome after returning for just one night, I'm talking about the Demon Kane. Now, here's the thing. I get it. Obviously, the intention of bringing Kane back was to put Braun Strowman over him as yet another monster of the past for Strowman to conquer. Strowman did the same thing to the Big Show. Now they're looking to likely have Strowman do the same thing to Kane after Kane backstabbed Strowman at TLC and sent him packing in a garbage truck. Now, here's the thing. I get that. You want to make Kane strong. You want to make Kane strong for when Strowman ultimately comes back for his revenge. But what do they do instead of having Kane just feed on some low-card jobbers like, I don't know, Kurt Hawkins and his vaunted 100-plus match losing streak? No. What do? They take someone in Finn Balor, who had a fantastic match that we talked about at length, a fantastic match with AJ Styles, the phenomenal AJ Styles, that kicked off the whole Raw versus SmackDown thing or deal, and they basically feed Finn to Kane. Not even 3 choke slams even. 1, 2, 3. And Kane beats Finn. Kane in 2017 beats Finn Balor. And then the next week, instead of putting another jobber up against Kane and making him look strong, they have him face Seth freaking Rollins. You know, part of the Shield. One half of the Raw Tag Team Champions. Oh yeah, we gotta keep that young up and newcomer Kane looking strong. So let's feed Seth Rollins to him. And they're planning to do the same to Dean Ambrose. And they're planning to do the same with Dean Ambrose next week. So basically, this is all an attempt, like I said, to build up Kane to ultimately face off with Braun Strowman in the next few weeks. And supposedly, the Shield and Finn will get their own back. They shouldn't have to get their own back because this is Kane in 2017. Kane, a balding, middle-aged, barrel-chested, 45, 47, 48-year-old in black and red tights, a red mask, and a wig. This is a guy near his 50s running for mayor, being put over some of the top superstars on the WWE Raw roster. I mean, like I said,
is he actually that big in real life?
No, he's not 7 feet tall, but yeah, he's pretty up there. He's like 6'10", 6'11", 325 pounds.
This guy's a giant man.
No, he's a giant man. I mean, in his prime, I mean, Glenn Jacobs had over a 400-pound deadlift. So this guy, he was powerful. I mean, in his prime, Kane could press slam. He could scoop slam Big Show. That's how powerful he was. But I mean, obviously, it's 2017. He's middle-aged. This is literally the first time he's been on television, WWE television, all year. Well, maybe not. I mean, I do believe he was at Royal Rumble 2017. But the point being is, he hadn't been on television for a long, long time. Suddenly he shows up out of nowhere. We think we're going to get an answer to why he's back to get revenge on Roman Reigns. Instead, now he's gearing up to face Strowman, and he's going over some of the top baby faces on Raw instead of just defeating on the low end of the Raw roster, which he should have done, which I don't get why he isn't doing. So, I mean, I get it. Rollins and Ambrose and Balor will get their comeuppance. Will have their revenge against Kane at some point, and that's all well and good. But it shouldn't have to be that way because Kane shouldn't have to go over them in the first place. Yeah. So there's that. All right. So moving on from there, we get to the next point. Speaking of Braun Strowman, I mean, the other buildup we have for Survivor Series is that well, not only was Strowman returned from, basically rising up from the dead, from the trash he was cast off into, to get revenge on Miz and likely Sheamus, Cesaro, and ultimately Kane for turning on him to begin with. We have Strowman, who ends up being the second member of Kurt Angle's Raw Survivor Series team, a good pick. But then on the flip side here, we have another match for Survivor Series, which is the Raw's Intercontinental Champion, The Miz, versus SmackDown's United States Champion, Baron Corbin. Now, here we have Miz and the Miztourage being basically thrown around like trash by Braun Strowman. And then you have Baron Corbin, who won the U.S. title from AJ Styles, beat AJ Styles basically clean as a whistle a couple weeks ago, and now Corbin's basically been having a hard time the last couple of weeks fending off Sin Cara. Sin Cara, the former tag team partner of Kalisto. Sin Cara, who hasn't been relevant on WWE television in the last couple of years. So, yeah, this Sin Cara, who shouldn't really be that much of a problem for Corbin, but he is anyway. So basically, Corbin's been made to look like a joke against Sin Cara the last couple of weeks after a stellar match against AJ Styles on SmackDown to retain his U.S. title. So the problem with this champion versus champion match, IC champion versus U.S. champion, is that both champions have been made to look like complete jokes. I mean, that's my big beef about this, is that basically they're both having troubles with people, their issues with people they really shouldn't be having issues with. Miz had little, if anything, to do with Strowman being cast out in the garbage truck, and Corbin should have put someone like Sin Cara away in just a week. Instead, it's been 3 weeks, 3 weeks, and he's still having problems with Sin Cara. So that's another problem. And here's the other thing, aside from a couple of actually pretty decent, Twitter promos, like iPhone promos, like nothing has been acknowledged or made about this champion versus champion feud. There's been no promotion about it whatsoever, aside from the match being made. So it hasn't been actually fully acknowledged on WWE television yet, and you've got a little over 2 weeks before the pay-per-view. So not only are you making both champions look like jokes, you're also not bothering to promote the match. Yet another problem. Oh no, indeed. So then we just go on down the line. We go on down the line here. And this isn't even, I mean, I don't know if these two will be a part of Survivor Series, but I just wanted to point this out. This is Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, but you wouldn't know it because basically it's just Rowan, Harper, the Bludgeon Brothers. Okay, so never mind that sounds like a corny 80s lumberjack tag team. But, okay, then you basically, let's give them some fake-looking Viking hammers, a backwoods setting, and basically forget about everything that they ever had building up coming from the Wyatt family. Let's just give them a creepy Viking backwoods vibe right here, and call them the Bludgeon Brothers. I mean, okay, here's a crazy idea. Just keep them as Rowan and Harper, and try not to gloss it over with some cheesy cornball gimmick like the Bludgeon Brothers. And I know this is a Triple H idea, because seriously, who else would have given these two big fake looking hammers? I mean, next thing you know, they'll be saying they'll use those hammers as weapons. Oh, but don't forget to put your hand over the front of it. That does more damage. So, I know Nick's excited. He's practically popping out of his seat right there.
Yes, I am.
Oh yeah, I can tell. So what do you guys think about Harper and Rowan being back together as a tag team. I guess let's try to focus on flip side. Let's focus on the positive of this one. What do you think about Rowan and Harper being a tag team on SmackDown?
Well, to be honest, they're kind of new to us. They're back. We don't know much about them. We're learning.
Same here. No, nothing.
Well, the fact that they used to be part of the Wyatt family.
Yeah.
The fact that Luke Harper did have, on the right there, did
Yep.
have some popularity as a single superstar before.
Yep, I recognize his name. Yeah.
For whatever reason, he
Right.
wasn't pushed as a singles superstar.
Right.
It seemed like he was being pushed away from the whole backwoods motif and being made into his own person. And suddenly they just kind of like take a step back and said, oh, no, let's just put him back. Let's just give him a creepy vibe again and just put a big old hammer in his hands. See how that works.
All right. Well, we'll see how it works. What do you think about it?
I'm all for them being together as a tag team, but under such, like I said, a cornball premise, it irks me. Like, I mean, with Rowan, I don't have so much a problem because Rowan's never really had a discernible personality. He's never really been able to stand on his own as a single superstar. So I think if anyone benefits from this, it's Eric Rowan, simply because, like, okay, he's back as part of a tag team again, so that way he won't be as glaring a problem as he was when he tried being a single superstar. All right. I mean, I think the big issue is, like I said, Luke Harper. Harper's always had so much singles potential. Like he's always been on the cusp of, you know, being that big guy, that next big superstar, and WWE just never really took advantage of that. And I'm disappointed, to be honest. Like he's always had potential. He's a former Intercontinental champion, former tag team champion. He's had great matches with Daniel Bryan, with Dolph Ziggler, with Randy Orton. So I mean, Harper's certainly capable of matching up with the best that WWE has and had to offer, but I just feel like this is just another step back for him. All right, so I mean, as you can tell, I've had a lot to say about, you know, not just Survivor Series, but a lot to say over the last couple of weeks. Like I said, I mean, I introduced my new protege, Christoph. Sadly, since it is a Thursday afternoon, he couldn't be here, but safe to say we are taking the wrestling connection in a new direction here. I feel like that we need to kind of go back to what made it great, not just talking about, you know, the weekly goings-ons in professional wrestling, but some of the more controversial topics, like what's going on with the whole Ultimate Warrior situation. So I feel like that, I mean, when the opportunity strikes, that we will talk about these more controversial subjects. I mean, like subject pending. I know there are some topics that we can talk about here, others that are a little too racy to discuss on a local network. I promise to clear that ahead of time with Nick and Greg and Julie. But I'm hoping that I get a chance to express myself more about kind of, you know, like I said, the seedier side of professional wrestling, and show that as much as I love, as much as I'm passionate about professional wrestling, there are some things about some subjects, some topics that go on within the industry that, as much as I don't want to talk about, that need to be talked about, that need to be discussed, that need to be put out in the open, and for others to look at, like just at its raw form, and so people can talk about this and see what wrestling is unfortunately all about sometimes. It's true. I mean, look, as much as I like to be, as much as I like to be optimistic about pro wrestling, as much as I like to be optimistic that things will change, there are some dark, negative things about wrestling that have to be discussed. They're not the most comfortable subjects, like today, like what we discussed with the Ultimate Warrior, and in the whole Unleash Your Warrior campaign. There are going to be a lot of uncomfortable subjects to approach. Some that we may be able to touch on, some that we won't. But I'm hoping that it's more the former, and that we can have more open discussion about this. That we can broach these kind of subjects, you know, broach these kind of subjects, and you know, like open everyone's minds to what's really going on in the industry of professional wrestling. So, I mean, Julie, Nick, I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, kind of like taking the show in a new direction as we're coming up on the end of the 4th season.
Well, I think it's refreshing, but I also don't want to lose the original wonderful award-winning show.
Well, no,
Yeah,
we're
into
still going to talk. I mean, we're still going to like touch on like what's going
Yeah.
on in WWE. We're still going to talk about, you know, Raw and SmackDown, the upcoming whatever pay-per-views upcoming. I mean, we'll still talk about all of that. It's just I kind of want to take things in a bit more of a mature direction.
Okay.
Okay, it's
Sure.
not all campy. It's not all campy humor. It's not all
Does
you
that
know.
mean we can't have fun and
No,
do
I
our
mean, we'll
usual
still
things?
have fun. Okay, I'm not saying we won't have fun.
Okay, whew.
But the point being is that I want to show all facets, all sides
All right.
of professional wrestling, not just not just the soft side that we talk about with Raw and SmackDown and whatever pay-per-views coming up on Sunday.
Okay.
Alrighty then.
All right. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, so speaking of which, that is all for episode 192 of the Wrestling Connection. Like I said, we will be having our Survivor Series pay-per preview view coming up in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
That is going to be
So
a
hope-
busy day.
So hopefully we'll know more about the men's Survivor Series match, the women's Raw
2
versus
weeks, so on
SmackDown
the
Survivor
10th.
Series match, IC versus US Champion, of course Universal versus WWE World Champion, Raw versus SmackDown Tag Team Champions. So we'll have a lot more put together to talk about in the coming weeks towards Survivor Series. In the meantime, though, make sure to check out this and other episodes of The Wrestling Connection on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Wrestling Connection, or, of course, over at Bedford TV's YouTube channel, where we are currently streaming live, or you can check out the Wrestling Connection's Facebook page, as well as our big official website, thewrestlingconnection.com. In the meantime, like I said, we have the awards. Like I said, we have the Bedford TV Awards coming up in 2 weeks. Like I said, tomorrow, Greg, Nick, and Julie will be taking off to accept both the Stations Award and Julie accepting her own individual award. Again, congratulations, Julie. Congratulations to everyone at Bedford TV for a fine 2017, and I hope we keep things rolling into 2018.
2016.
Oh, 2016?
Yeah, it's last year's awards. They're a little late.
Last year's award. Okay, I'm corrected. Well, a fantastic 2016, and I hope we'll keep things rolling. You'll have a fantastic 2017 award next year. All right. So in the meantime, folks, for Nick Giglio, for Julian Nugian, for Greg Dolan, for everyone at Bedford TV, this is Ken Hill of the Wrestling Connection. Reminding you, as always, to be connected, get connected, stay connected. Have a good weekend and enjoy your candy.
I've heard it
Too many times to ignore it.
It's
Some things that I'm supposed to be. Someday we'll find it. The Wrestling Connection. The lovers, the dreamers, and me. La da da dee da da doo.